Do you feel it's real? I mean, it sounds like you do if you don't think it's going to work out with the lover.
I think the conflict with her husband, or lover, what's coming through, um, I think that's real. I do think that it's played up, maybe, for entertainment purposes, but I do see a lot about broken trust, bringing out parts of her that she really doesn't want. So I would say codependency. It feels like there is very likely substance abuse. Although I don't feel like that's current, it still feels like the damage has been done. Now, I will say that the conflict with the friend, I feel like they're still actively spending time together. So I don't feel like I feel like that's what's probably been played up.
And you think her and the friend, who in this case, the woman's name is Kyle Richards, you think her and the friend will be just fine?
I feel like they will be. Yeah. It feels like they do genuinely have issues with one another. Like I think that's real. But it feels like I don't I feel like it may have been played up a bit more. It feels like she can be very insensitive. I wouldn't call her manipulative, but I do think she can be a bit calculating at times.
Dorit or the friend?
Great. Well, I would say both of them probably are a little bit two peas in the same pod. And so I think they probably bump heads a lot for that reason. They both don't see their own faults initially and get very hypersensitive to the other.
Do you sense other friend conflicts for Dorit in 25? You know, the show is pre-taped, so we're watching stuff now. I mean, there
Hmm.
are other people, there's a woman named Sutton, there's a woman named Garcelle. She has lots of conflicts this season, but that was then. I mean, we're heading into a different, the show is airing now, and sometimes things are resolved by the time the show airs. Other times,
Hmm.
you watch something and you're like, wow, well, I'm mad all over again. And then there's social media. I mean,
Yeah.
how do you see these other relationships from maybe
I
in
mean, it's
your life?
it's funny when you brought up Garcelle. I was very drawn to that. It does feel like I would say in the coming year, I'm seeing her having trouble keeping balance. And it feels like she's not going to have as much, be as flexible or adaptable. And I actually think that she's not going to be as vocal about why that is. And so I think other people are going to start to misinterpret that as her being rude, insensitive, inconsiderate. Um, so yeah, I think that there may be some static between those two.
And do you think this is all good for her? Like, is she overstepping, or is this like, no, this is kind of what, this is the right thing to do? Like, I think like you might have
Mhm.
said coming into your own. I think you used those
Yeah,
words.
I don't think honestly, well, and we're dealing with somebody who is a star on a reality TV show, right? So part
Yes.
of that, I think, is kind of want a little bit of drama, something interesting happening. But, when you say, is that good for her? No. Can she handle it? Yeah. I don't think she's going to break. I think a lot of people are looking at her like she's already broken, but I actually feel like there's a lot of strength um, there. But honestly, if this was a friend or a sister of mine, I would say stay away from the drama because it's unnecessary and it's not going to help you. You got enough to deal with.
You have enough to deal with. I mean, her husband, there was, a claimed sub. His name is PK, Paul Kemsley. He was born August 23rd, 1967. So he's older. But, how is he doing? There was a substance issue. You mentioned substance issue. How is he doing amidst this separation, which it sounds like you don't think they're going to make it?
I don't think they're going to make it. I think ultimately that they are going to split amicably. I am seeing some signs of infidelity on his part. I don't know if that's recent. Um, it does feel like I would say co-parenting is probably what I would say. And I actually do see him on the right path. So it feels like, I guess, sobriety. So it does feel like I think he's going to be successful with that. I don't think he's going to be successful in saving the relationship because it feels like um I almost think that alcoholism was self-medicating for a deeper issue that he's not quite addressing. So that's what I would say.
And what about like how are each of them independently? Sometimes when a marriage or any relationship is falling apart, are breaking up, it's a mutual decision. Both parties are fine. They just have to get through it. Is you sense
Hmm.
one of these two is like, do you sense they're equal? Like, I mean, it could be amicable, or is someone kind of pining over the other, not wanting this as much as the other?
I would say I think Dorit, I actually think they both are actually pretty happy with the separation as far as I think it's best for both of them. However, if I had to say one was really blindsided, like I'm literally seeing the symbol for being blindsided, I think it was Dorit. It feels like she had invested so much into the marriage and she was still on board with trying to make it work. And it really feels like he was the one that was just like, I'm done. And so I don't know if it's that she wants to be with him. I really don't think that's it. I think she's hurt that someone that she had a child with and that she invested so much time into would be so insensitive and so disrespectful after everything that she feels she's done for him. And I think that's legit.
Yeah, that's like a common, characteristic. Like you may not want someone, or you might not necessarily want the relationship to be going, but you don't want them to not want you, right? Like that's
Yeah.
kind of a normal human
Hmm.
emotion that I could relate to.
Absolutely.
What
Yeah.
about you mentioned financial? Were you saying you see good financial stuff? Like it's all good, or are there issues here for either of them?
It doesn't look good. It definitely looks like they have old financial issues that they need to resolve. It feels like this is also attached to some kind of legal issue, maybe multiple legal issues. It also feels like they're going to be unloading a property. Um, and it feels like they're going to lose a lot of finances in that. Um, it feels like they're both kind of struggling to keep their head above water financially right now. I think they're going to be fine because it feels like they both do very well. And I think they're actually pretty good with finances, but it feels very much like their lifestyle that has got them in trouble, spending more than what was coming in.
Well, they definitely live a big lifestyle. There is rumors, although I don't know if it's true, that their house is in pre-foreclosure. There's a lot of drama surrounding that. So maybe that's kind of what you're seeing.
I think that's true. I would say that feels very true to me that
And
it is in
there's
foreclosure.
questions about who owns the house, and like whether it's either of them or they just rent it. So moving on, we do have another woman in the same general area where they live. Her name is Teddi Mellencamp. She used to be on this show, Beverly Hills Housewives, but she's not anymore. Her date of birth is July 1st in 1981. So
Another Cancer.
she is a Cancer. Although
Hmm.
that seems so she's going through, well, what do you see for her? I guess what are your before we get into it, what are your feelings on this woman, Teddi Mellencamp?
I mean, this feels like somebody who